Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How You're Getting Fucked, especially if you're a OnePlus phone owner. I'm your host, Louis Rossman. Today we're going to be discussing the concept of installing an operating system of your choice on your device. If you upgraded to Windows 8 one day and you said, wow, this sucks, I'm going back to Windows 7. If you went to Windows 11 and then said, never mind, I want to go back to Windows 10, that was something that you could do. When you try to do that on a phone nowadays, you're not allowed to, and some phones will directly prevent you from doing it. But there are other phones out there that decide to go one step further, which is when you decide that you want to change the operating system on your phone, it bricks the phone. I'm not kidding. This is something that people are finding with the new OnePlus devices, or I shouldn't say new OnePlus devices, with their newer operating system. People on XDA developers and other forums are announcing that when they try to downgrade after upgrading to the latest operating system, the device just fucking dies. It just bricks. There are hardware fuses in these devices that can be blown via software. So if you upgrade to a newer operating system, there is a hardware fuse in the chip's processor that is going to be blown. Once that fuse is blown, if you try to downgrade to an older operating system, you essentially have a brick. You have a device that you need to send back to the manufacturer in order to repair, and I'm going to take a wild guess they're going to charge you some money for that and not allow you access to the old operating system. The reason this is something that I find disgusting is because I remember back a long time ago, almost 13 years ago, when OnePlus was considered one of the phone manufacturers that was looked up to because they were shipping devices that came with something called Cyanogen mod. I can never pronounce that shit right, but I always liked running different mods on my phone. I liked running different ROMs on my phone because back then, if I wanted to do Wi-Fi hotspot or anything like that, I had to install a program called Barnacle, which required I root my phone. It was a fun time, and back then you didn't have just a button that said Wi-Fi hotspot on your phone. If you wanted to do that type of shit, you had to install a different Android ROM. And OnePlus was a company that actually would ship phones with these alternate ROMs. So a lot of people who are power users decided to start using them. And when you fast forward 13 years later, and you're actually worse than Apple. Because again, it's one thing if you say, I cannot downgrade the phone. It's another if you allow the upgrade process or the downgrade process to go through, and then it turns my phone into shit. Like, who the fuck gave you the right to do that? And I know that you're going to say it's about safety and security and all the bullshit that usually hear it being said it's about. But if that was what it was about, there are many ways to go about that without causing my phone to literally never work again, even if I want to flash it to the newer version of the operating system. I don't think this is a good idea. I frown on OnePlus for doing this, and I do hope that they decide to support users who have had this problem. I hope that they decide to be a little bit more upfront about this when users are updating to newer operating systems, and honestly, just frankly come out and explain without the marketing bullshit why they've decided to turn their backs on the people who've bought this phone 13 years ago for the express reason of having more control of what you bought and paid for. Shout out to the Consumer Right Wiki that is run by the Fulu nonprofit, headed up by Keith and many other people who are doing a great job here. This is where you have all of this information on any time a company does this, and we are trying as much as we can to get people using this, putting articles in here every time a company does this type of anti-ownership bullshit. The only way for this to get better is if everybody that's involved in watching this channel and going over these issues on a regular basis decides to take a look at this, add issues when they become issues rather than just comment about them on YouTube and email them to me. And thank you very much to the people who've made that possible. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.